And you're on the clicker here.
And I have the largest bottle of water I've ever seen in my life. It weighs about 3 pounds. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. First of all, I'd like to apologize for the sheer number of Americans that have invaded this beautiful city this week. All of them looking for selfies and looking for a place to get a good hamburger. But it is my favorite city. London is absolutely beautiful this time of year, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to give this talk today. So to start with, there's a word on this screen that isn't real. It's a word we made up, but it's a word that needs to exist. It didn't need to exist a few years ago because we didn't have agentic flying around the AI hype cycle. But we do today. And I think it's incredibly important that we start to define a different way to have this conversation. I started in the contact center in 1994. Does anyone remember CompuServe? I was one of the technical support representatives answering the phone. I've been in contact center or CX for 30 years. When people ask me what I do at dinner parties, you ever get that question? What is it you do? And if it's not somebody from the industry, that isn't always an easy way to answer it. But I tell them, you know, if you've ever talked to a chat bot that hasn't been able to answer your question correctly, even in a simple FAQ, if you ever talked to somebody where you could barely understand what they were saying and there was a 2-second gap between them hearing you and you speaking, that's the kind of stuff I'm here to fix. That's what I want to do. You know what I don't tell them? I want to get rid of 40% of the jobs in this industry. That has never inspired me to do what I'm doing today. I hope there's other people in the audience that feel the same way. Because when we simply talk about AI as a way to automate interactions, that's a deeply inhuman conversation. And I think there's a rising tide of people that are recognizing, regardless of what we think about the feasibility of generative AI in the contact center replacing humans, is it even ethical? I would say it's not. Oh, by the way, I run strategic partner alliances at Five9. I should mention that. And so that means that my job every day is to get up and figure out how do we grow profitably together. How do I have a big ecosystem of partners that all feel like they're participating profitably in this growth? This chart right here summarizes the whole context of the discussion that I'd like to have with you for the next 15 minutes. That AI cannot be spoken about as a pure automation technology, but it has to go hand in hand with human beings. The great Rory Sutherland of Ogilvy, does anyone know Rory Sutherland? He has a great talk about the customer front door, you know, about the doorman stands in front of these buildings. If you hire, no offense to any of my SI partners, but if you hire an SI, they'll come in and say, hey, we can automate that. We're going to get an automatic door opener, and you're not going to need your doorman anymore. And what they miss out on is that this doorman does a lot more. This doorman owns that space for the customer. You have a doorman at your building. That's a big deal. Not everyone has that. Somebody who can call you a safe cab. Somebody who can get the vagrants off the steps. That is the value that a doorman brings. So if we're purely reductive, and no offense to the CFOs in the audience, but I think they are, and they only talk about cost reduction, they're not responsible for the impact of the CX. They only say, hey, look, I saved all this money. Not, look at our frustrated customers. The focus needs to be on building great products and getting those products in the hands of customers who are delighted to use them, and then using every opportunity or touch point we have with those customers to make the process even more enjoyable. It's not cutting cost. I think that's just an overly narrow way to think about it. So, quick show of hands. I've got bulls and bears on this chart, and you guys probably do the same thing. You get on YouTube, you listen to people who are deep practitioners of the technology that are willing to share their experience on what's working and what isn't. This is the audience participation portion. Could I get a show of hands of the people that sit here on the bull side, that believe that in the next 3 years, we're going to be able to credibly and effectively automate these interactions using generative AI technologies? Anybody? Pretty good, pretty good. I'd say maybe 20% of the room. How about my bears? We've wildly overstated the capabilities of this AI technology in the short term. Probably understated them in the long term, but we've overstated them and oversold them right now. Where are the bears? Oh, And then who changes regardless, or depending on the time of day? I think that's probably most of the room. Depending on what the latest article you've read or the latest YouTube video you've watched that have told you about this stuff. Well, they're both right. The reality is that automation is a really important conversation. I have a very close partner who works at one of the largest consulting companies in the world. And if you get a glass of wine or two into him, he'll tell you, when he talks to the C-suite, not CX people, the C-suite, they say they want to cut 40% of their labor force. That's what they see the opportunity is. And we have to contend with that. We heard the gentleman up here from PwC talking about the need to educate our C-suite, 100%. The technology is not there. It's not ready yet. The ROI hasn't been proven. I think most people have read the MIT study that say that less than 9% of these projects are making their ROIs. We have lots of interesting anecdotal evidence about hallucinations. Sorry I gave you $10,000 refund on a $1,000 ticket. Oops. Nobody wants those hallucinations when that bot is representing your brand. These are very important topics. Governance, trust. You can get it done. But in many cases, they're finding that getting it done is way more expensive than having a human being do it. So they're both right. And the answer, I think, has to come down to doing it together. Humantic data, the Humantic approach. I'm going to submit this to dictionary.com. I think I did a pretty good job on the formatting. Humantic data. What is Humantic data? It's more than just say, oh, we've got AI working with everybody in the world's going to come up here and say that. We've got AI working with people. And clearly, you do. Agent assist. That's a great example, isn't it? Agent assist. You're giving good information to your agents. I sat on a panel last year. We had 4 customers lined up who had deployed agent assist that said if they got rid of it, their agents would quit. It's that important to them. It's a great technology. But that's not really what Humantic means. What Humantic means is that we're taking information that's in your best agent's head. They know context, they know tone. When someone calls in, and it's not necessarily on the FAQ, they know because of their experience from years of being in that place. I was there. I was a contact center agent, a very good one. And they have that context, they have that tone. That's what you want. That's Humantic data. And we have not historically been able to get that data out of the contact center. And some key technologies have changed that are going to allow us to do that. And I think what's most important is they're going to allow us to do it in a way that the value shift that we're all concerned about on that per-seat model, moving into something else, all partners and all providers are concerned about this, it'll allow us to take advantage of the shift rather than lose it. So I think that's really important. If you look at what a agentic application can do that's based on internet learning, it'll give you the average of the average. If you look at what a human being can do, it'll give you the best. That's what the best looks like. We've got to get that information and pass it into our AI systems so we can prove automation, not to eventually put these people out of a job, but to make all contact center agents level up. That's really what we want to do. I think that's the Humantic approach. 5.9, why does it deserve to have this conversation? Well, we've been in the industry for 20 years as a pure cloud provider. We've been in the deterministic IVA world since our acquisition of Inference in 2019. We have hundreds of customers running on this technology. But the other thing I would say is that we're a voice company. We've taken this very seriously. We want to provide high-quality voice interactions because we think that's the most intimate channel. And if you're going to start deploying voice IVAs, I think we have a point of view here. I think we've proven that we know how to build the infrastructure, and I think we know what good looks like. I also think we've got an enormous amount of information in what we're processing today. Millions of interactions Humantic interactions coming through our systems. And I think this gives us a very unique opportunity to take these deployments in AI and do this Humantic approach in a way that's unique and gives better business outcomes so that you're not having these foiled deployments that are causing so much bad press. This is our Genius AI suite, and I'm not going to read you the boxes here, but this is our full product suite. And there's a couple that I'd like to call out that I think are particularly interesting. that are going to help us reach this humanic future. Obviously, AI agents. I mentioned that we've had hundreds of customers running on our deterministic IVA. That is AI. We are now bringing the ability to bring generative AI flows into that mix. And that's what we're releasing this quarter. I think that's a very important technology. Agent Assist and AI Knowledge, very important in our portfolio. We've had wild success with AI Knowledge. It can basically read what's happening in your contact center and then give you, prompt-driven ways to get that data out. We've all felt like there's been plenty of information somewhere if you know where to find it in a contact center, but anybody who's actually managed one, it's pretty tough to do sometimes. The other one that I think is really important is agentic quality management, and this is where I think the so what is. Agentic quality management is that place where the humanic data lives. Instead of just doing 2 QA QMs every month for an agent, we can now look at every single piece of information that's flowing through that contact center, all of it, and expose it to analysis. That is where we're going to find out what great looks like. And then I think you take that information and you can pump it into your routing engine. So instead of just doing basic skills-based routing like we've all been doing, you could take the insight on how to best handle those transactions and turn it into meaningful, intelligent routing data. I think that's extremely important. But it also feeds everything else. It's a feedback loop. It's a feedback loop where you take real-time information, you listen, you store it, AQM, Advanced Analytics, in our data lake. You tailor your interactions by building flows that make sense to maximize the outcomes. This is what your best agents are now. This is the humanic data coming into the platform. And then, of course, you pump that into the actual application of the technology. And this is a feedback loop, right? That's what makes technology really exciting, is when you build a feedback loop. We haven't had it until now. And I think that's what really gets me excited about this portfolio. All of it managed through a single management interface and layer. So the elephant in the room is that we're all moving off of per-seat models, which is where our industry has primarily lived, and resell and installation work is changing dramatically. So what is our answer for this? I think it's something that concerns anybody who's got a P&L responsibility in this industry. I think this is about moving from reselling the technology to making all the money on the implementation of the technology, right? And many of you that are deep in this say, okay, George, no kidding. But this is the work we have to go embark on. At Five9, with our Genius AI suite, we have early partner engagement program, which is going to allow us to help you build your Genius AI practice. We go very, very deep here. This is not about going wide. This is about selecting a very small number of partners in market that want to build the Genius AI practice with us. We do deep technical training, workshops. We have 5 tiers of different class structures depending on how deep you want to go. We'll help you with your go-to-market. We'll help you with your demand generation. The EPE program is our way to answer the question of how do I make money with the Genius AI suite. And if you don't know about partnership with Five9, please come and grab me after the talk. I'd be really pleased to talk to you about it. We think we add a lot of value to our partners. 80% of our business is partner-touched. We're moving all this into partner-driven implementation programs, and our Genius AI suite is no different. And if you are an existing Five9 customer, this is an invite program. Please come and talk to me if you're interested. We'd love to work with you in leveling up your AI chops and building this together. Our commitment to partnership extends beyond simple reseller. We have a balanced route to market in terms of our partnership, which means that we work with everyone from referral partners, GSIs. We have a wide open ecosystem in our ISV program. Very important. I think this is an approach that we've taken that's open. This is about you choosing the best of that product and not getting locked in. So this is a unique approach, I think, when you compare us to our peers. Service providers, technology solution brokers, all about the balanced routes to market. We're very committed to partner profitability. Take a moment here. Humantic data. Word that is not yet in the dictionary, but I would love for us to take it out of this room. And I think it's a very human approach, which says this is not about just reducing the number of jobs we have in the contact center, but really kind of pivoting as an industry and saying we're not going to let the CFOs beat us up anymore. We're going to go build amazing experiences that delight customers and get them really excited about using our products. Thank you.